In the depths of our minds, we are often tempted by the fleeting pleasures of the world, mistaking them for true satisfaction. But what lies behind these temptations? What is the cost of indulging in these desires which seem harmless on the surface but threaten to consume our very essence? The ancient philosophy of Stoicism, a beacon of wisdom and self-mastery, offers us a path to navigate these treacherous waters, a path where we do not merely survive but thrive, rising above our base impulses to reach a state of inner peace and unshakable strength. Masturbation, an act so often dismissed as natural and harmless, is a prime example of this internal struggle. Modern society tells us it is normal, even beneficial, to indulge in this behavior. But let us pause and consider the words of the Stoics, those ancient sages who understood the human condition far better than we might imagine. Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus, all masters of self-control, warned us against the dangers of being enslaved by our desires. They recognized that the pursuit of momentary pleasure can lead us down a path of self-destruction, distancing us from our higher selves and the true fulfillment that comes from living in harmony with nature. Seneca once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In this context, we see that the pursuit of pleasure, whether through food, drink, or sexual gratification, is a never-ending cycle. The more we indulge, the more we crave, and the more we become enslaved to these desires. This is not the path to true happiness. It is a trap that weakens our willpower and erodes our sense of self. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, urged us to be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it. We, too, must strive to be immovable, steadfast in our commitment to self-mastery, even when the temptations of the flesh threaten to overwhelm us. The act of masturbation releases dopamine in the brain, creating a temporary feeling of pleasure and satisfaction. But as we indulge in this behavior, our brains begin to crave more and more of this dopamine, leading to a vicious cycle of addiction. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM, has recognized this, classifying hypersexuality as a form of obsessive-compulsive disorder. We become prisoners of our own minds, unable to break free from the chains of our desires. But the Stoics teach us that we have the power to break these chains. Epictetus reminds us that no man is free who is not master of himself. True freedom comes not from indulging in our desires, but from mastering them. We must learn to control our impulses, to resist the pull of momentary pleasures, and to focus on what truly matters: our character, our virtues, and our connection to the natural order of the universe. In the Stoic tradition, self-mastery is not about repression, but about understanding and directing our emotions toward a higher purpose. We must recognize that every action has consequences, not only for ourselves, but for the world around us. When we give in to our most intense desires, we lose our connection to the harmonious order that the Stoics held so dear. We become disconnected from our true selves, adrift in a sea of guilt, shame, and dissatisfaction. But there is hope. The Stoics teach us that we can regain control, that we can find inner peace through self-discipline and mindfulness. By practicing meditation, we can cultivate the mental serenity needed to resist temptations and face our emotions in a healthy, constructive way. We can learn to find joy and simplicity in the virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. We can live in accordance with our deepest principles and values, free from the slavery of fleeting desires. Consider the story of a man who once struggled with compulsive masturbation. He sought momentary refuge in this act, only to be consumed by an emotional storm of guilt and regret. But through the teachings of the Stoics, he found a way out. He learned to confront his desires and emotions consciously, practicing self-control and self-regulation. He found true joy not in the act itself, but in the mastery of his own mind. Today, he lives a life of inner peace and authenticity, free from the chains of his former addiction. My friends, we all face this struggle in one form or another, but we must remember that we have the power to overcome it. We are not slaves to our desires, we are their masters. Let us embrace the wisdom of the Stoics and strive for a life of self-control, fortitude, and true fulfillment. In doing so, we will find not only inner peace, but a deeper connection to the natural order of the universe, a connection that will guide us on the path to the true happiness and lasting satisfaction. So let us rise above our base impulses and become the masters of our own destiny. Let us strive for self-mastery, for inner peace, and for a life lived in accordance with our deepest values. For in the end, it is not the fleeting pleasures of the flesh that will bring us true happiness, but the strength of our character and the purity of our souls.